evening, everyone. Live from the LCAC studios in Leicester, Massachusetts. I'm Mike Shivick.
I'm Bill Moore.
And our new friend,
Mark Connelly.
His first time here at the LCAC studios. It's kind of nice to be able to come on here and be able to put on a show and be able to tell the town what you think's going on around here and, have your 2 cents heard. So, Mark, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's nice to have you. So anyways, Bill, what's been going on with the veterans in town here? Anything good?
We had a successful Veterans Day over at the Senior Center, very, very well attended, and Rachel did a fantastic job over here with her volunteers, and we had Congressman McGovern in town, and
I saw those pics on
Lou
Facebook.
Evangelitis, and Representative Kate Campanelli, and Major General Keefe was in, and so yeah, things went very, very well. It was very pleased.
And we had a good event at the town center there at 11:11 on Veterans Day. Brief ceremony, but important. Unfortunate, we don't see more people attending. It's very important to remember why we're here and how we have the right to even do things like this and exercise our First Amendment rights to free speech and peaceably assemble here, in the LCAC studios. But glad to hear things are going well.
Yeah, it's going well, and I just want to do a shout out to the town for helping a young man who's going for his Eagle Scout, Ricky Sion. And thanks to the Leicester Fire Department, they put together a big care package of items for him to ship over to our troops overseas. So we really appreciate that, and all the restaurants that have a donation box. It's a really good cause here. We don't want to forget our men and women serving overseas. So,
Bill, are you doing anything right now? Are you doing any kind of fundraiser, or is there anything else that you want to plug as far as how people can donate to our veterans overseas?
Well, we do every year Operation Jeepers Creepers Christmas program.
What's that?
We help out wounded warriors, disabled veterans, veterans in general that need a hand up during the Christmas season.
Okay.
We have a lot of corporate sponsors that adopt these military and veterans families, and they fill out a form, and they have a wish list, and they purchase gifts for the veterans and stuff. So we got about 50 families that have been adopted already, and we got about another 28 going. So we're always looking for more corporate sponsors or individuals or businesses are saying instead of getting each other a Christmas gift, they'll adopt a military family and they'll go shopping for that family. So that's all up on our website. So it's pretty good.
That's good. That's good. And so people, what's the website again?
www.projectnewhopema.org. And
just in case anybody at home is interested, this is a call-in live show, 508-892-8757. We'd love to hear your thoughts, comments on what's going on as a citizen in the town of Leicester.
So let me just kick this off here. I heard something here that the Cherry Valley Rochdale Water District said that they're having another town meeting. When is that, December 8th, 7th?
I believe it's actually December 6th at 7 p.m.
At 7 p.m. at the town hall. So we're going to go through that same thing again, and what they're saying is that the last vote was a fluke because of the misinformation on social media. And so how do you feel it's a fluke with social media?
Mark, what do you think?
I feel, I don't know, maybe the Clintons are running their campaign. Wasn't that the story there?
Hill Dog's tentacles.
It was actually it might not have been the last bill, the previous bill. There was a letter in the last couple of lines. They did specify that it was directly related to, or Article 1 did not pass directly related to information that was being provided on social media. Personally, I think the townspeople that were involved, the residents of the district that showed up to vote, made their voices heard. And for Mike Knox and the rest of the Cherry Valley Rochdale Water District to stomp their feet and call for another vote, it's childish. The vote's already been made. Accept it and let's move forward in a productive direction, not.
Well, they're so used to this the customers in the Cherry Valley Rochdale District not having a voice. They like to bully you. You don't hear what's going on, and they're just pushing stuff through. And people are sitting there with their cards. They don't even know what they're voting on. Raising their hands there. And now you have informed citizen, you have an informed group here. They're not giving us any information. They're just, everything's pushed back with these people here. It's like, it's ridiculous, but you have, Mr. Knox, social media, that's where it's happening right now. Social media. We can't count on the newspaper. We can't count on you to give us the facts of what's going on here, because there's something going on here. And to try to shove this through again, I'm glad the townspeople spoke up here and voted this measure down, and I hope they vote this measure down again.
Now, Mr. Connelly, you spoke at that meeting. What was your primary concern with this $2 million permanent interconnection to Worcester? Was there something that struck you in particular? I mean, there was a number of things, I'm sure. However,
there is a number of things. Number one, first and foremost, I don't want to be in bed with Worcester. I guess would be number one of the primary factors. I feel we lose control of not only our district, but with the other districts in town, it's only a matter of time until they end up in the same boat. We're giving up a part of our liberties and our abilities, our freedom as an individual town, our sovereignty, yes.
Now, I looked at that as water security as the same issue, whether it be for the town of Leicester or regionally, because if we were to hook up to an already overburdened water source, so now if we were getting it from Worcester and Worcester's getting it from somewhere else, there's other towns that are dependent on that as well.
Right.
So it
Absolutely.
seems if there's other sources, and I mean, I don't, at the risk of being labeled, the Moose Hill guy,
I would suggest there might be another source in town.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at from 1987 on page 11, SEA Consultants Incorporated did a study of the town. It seemed like, this started off in 81, and there were some studies that went forward, and in 87 there was a comprehensive study about how much would it cost to put this forward at that time and what would happen. The unexpected loss of one or more of the public primary water sources in Leicester would result in an immediate water shortage under average conditions projected for the year 2000. Now that's, almost 17 years ago now. For example, if Henshaw Pond was lost from service, the immediate supply shortfall would amount to over 500,000 gallons per day. So as far back as 1987, there was, money being expended to determine that something could happen and that we would experience a water shortfall. And they cite Henshaw Pond in particular, which happens to be our problem right now. So,
well, as you had just said, there's money being expended over all those years. Where's it being expended, though? I guess that would be a primary concern of mine. Now, when you look at the bills we've paid, as a state, we pay some of the highest rates in the state. I would argue we probably pay some of the highest water rates in the country.
I can't sign up on that, but...
And what justifies that? And my thing is, when's the last time the Cherry Valley Rochdale District had an audit done of their books, where this money is being spent? They're asking for an awful lot of money. They're riding around a brand-new truck, doing what? So I think an audit is justified to request it. I don't think it's out of the realm to do that. We don't have any information. And what's funny? One of my neighbors went to the Cherry Valley Rochdale Water District meeting, and they were talking after you. I heard you were in attendance, and after you left, they brought up. They said because people were talking about how we're going to get a well here instead of being hooked into the thing here. I'm going to put a well in. And they made a comment, I don't know if it was Mr. Knox, it could have been, but she said that, they says, oh, well, if you have a well and then you decide you want to come back onto the water and sewer or whatever, you're going to get hit with a fee here. And she pointed out to them, she says, we bought a foreclosed piece of property. It sat vacant for 4 years, and they had no problem coming over and turning the water right onto that house 4 years later. But now they want to hit us, assess her. They're throwing this out there. We're going to put these fees on here. They're like fee happy. Let's look at the money we expended for. Didn't we lay pipes up here? The town paid for those pipes, the water and sewer pipes.
You're talking about the 2003 intermunicipal agreement between the town
Absolutely.
and the Leicester Water District.
I mean,
that was dependent on Moose Hill coming online.
That's a broad brush, but the whole contemplation of that contract between two parties represented by council, both municipal organizations under Mass General Law, agreed that the development of Moose Hill would be what happens, and that's 2003. So I'm looking at 1987, 2003. There's another study from 2008. 48.
And didn't the town just expend more money to do another thing up there?
Yeah, well-
So we're gonna blow $45,000 more.
I think that we need to have a concrete answer on how much it's going to cost to bring it to people and whether or not it's worth going any further as a thumbs up or a thumbs down from a cost benefit analysis.
Now, my understanding, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong,
I can't.
and to Bill's point, the 48,000 that we are planning on expending is essentially to demonstrate the vitality of Moose Hill.
Correct and incorrect. It would what they want. My understanding of what it was voted on by the Leicester Board of Selectmen was that there was a determination that these prior studies never went so far as to say how much would it cost per 100 cubic feet to get it to people's houses, roughly. And it's a very rough estimate that they're looking for, but part of the issue is that the Leicester Water District employs one of the largest companies that deals with that kind of stuff in the area. And the other largest company in the area is employed by the other water district, Cherry Valley Rochdale. So trying to find an independent source that's viable in order to conduct this study to make sure we can come up with a number and say, hey, listen, do you want to test the viability of this water? Shaw Pond, which bleeds into it, has been certified. Moose Hill is understood to be a potentially viable primary water source for drinking, Class A source. So, there seems to be some issues determining whether or not this is going to be cost viable. And if it is cost viable, especially if you consider that they want to spend $2 million here, there's other monies that are being expended by each particular district, which, again, sometimes people throw the word consolidation around, like maybe we should have just one town DPW. And I'm looking,
11,000 people, so we're not Worcester. We don't need, Worcester has one water district, we have three, think about it.
All the way back in 1987, Billy Griffin may have still been on the board at that point. It looks like terms of consolidation would need to be negotiated individually with each district. However, it does appear that non-fee takeovers could be realized if agreed to by all parties involved. So, I mean,
You got a lot of egos right
each
there.
each little district, I said only the Leicester Water Supply District has specific provisions for takeover in its enabling legislation. So there's particular language in their initiating legislation, which would have to be reviewed.
Now, that was Leicester Water District.
Yep, that it would cost money to take them over. So it would seem that, these guys have a duty to their district, but then again, they also have a duty to the town, and the town has a duty to the town. And we spent all this money, and we spent $2 million on those pipes in that pumping station up down Route 9, the one that's on Mount Pleasant.
And all the pipes in the ground that's already been done.
The cost of Moose Hill
I
in the
might
first
be
instance.
mistaken, not to exclude you from the conversation for a moment, Mike, but Bill, I know you had watched the selectmen's meeting from November 7th. Selectman Belanger had removed Selectman Shivick from being the water liaison. I might be mistaken, but in that video, did he not say that was at the request of Joe Leonardton?
I believe there was a letter.
Who, I might be mistaken, is Commissioner of Leicester Water District?
Yeah, he's the chairman for the Leicester Water District.
Asking for your removal.
Yep.
So, I mean,
Okay.
you see a conflict here?
I don't know.
So, yeah, that might be a
It
point
just,
of contention.
yeah, I mean, it's just,
Since then, I've been able to attend the remainder of the meetings in the district. I missed the Cherry Valley meeting yesterday, but I've been able to stay active. Unless there's a fly on the wall, I've been the only selectman at these meetings. So I continue to try to stay on top of this, regardless of any political moves that.
well, you live in the district. I mean,
Well,
it's,
some of the information sharing that doesn't occur is easily facilitated by one person going to all these meetings. So, back in 1987,
Watching that
again,
meeting where you were removed as liaison, I mean, they could call in and correct me if I'm wrong, but it looked like Tom Buckley was behind you and felt that Selectman Belanger made a bad decision. I felt that Diana Proventia was also behind you. Town Administrator Kevin Mizukai was behind you. I honestly, even though he wasn't very vocal, I think that Harry Brooks was behind you being this liaison as really a part of helping to move the town forward as a town, not what we're currently
right,
doing.
but how can you have the chairman, which is Doug Belanger, and my understanding is he had every right as the chairman of the Board of Selectmen to remove him as the liaison. My problem is to appoint himself. He signed this contract 13 years ago, and what have we done? And now, and then you have the Cherry Valley, I mean, you have the Leicester Water Supply, you know, you have the fire chief, who also works for the Leicester Water Supply. You know, I mean, look at that whole thing there, and now, so how about don't the other water districts have a say whether this gentleman who is advocating for the whole town stays on his list? No, so Doug Belanger's gonna do that? I just don't understand.
Considering the commissioner of another water district sent in a letter to Selectman Belanger asking to remove Mike, I would say, I agree with you, Bill. Yeah, the other districts do have a say. Unfortunately, it's just their chairman's say.
Well, prior to that, I was told by one of the commissioners that I was needed to be taught an etiquette lesson, and maybe that's what led to that. But maybe that's between me and that particular commissioner.
So if you need help, I could teach etiquette.
No, that's not what we're here for. However, going back to this 2008 Moose Hill study, it looks that you know, the DEP was there in 2008. They did not see any reason that if the proper procedures and protocol were followed, that Moose Hill Reservoir could not be certified as a Class A water usable for the town as a primary water source. So we're looking at, in 1987, we're looking at foreseeability of Henshaw Pond having a problem and causing water problems for the entire town. We're looking at town expenditures, collusion between various players in the town over the years, and then all of a sudden, just a cliff.
Now,
And now here we are today with this issue. Now here comes, this is a permanent solution. If they try to tell you,
Right.
oh, we have a clause that we can get out, when are people going to want to spend another $2 million on top of the $2 million they already
Well, you
spent
know,
to get a new water supply?
the DEP said, just right after our vote, that the water district is saying, oh, it's gonna take 20 years. That's BS. They said that it would take no more than 5 years to bring that up on board, and that water supply would supply this whole town.
That's Mass DEP saying.
And we need to
5
get them
years or
involved.
less.
Because,
I agree.
you know, I mean, I don't understand that. Why wouldn't you do, in 13, you signed a contract 13 years ago, and I think it's good for 25 years.
25 years ago, it was still
So-
paying on it. Each of the townspeople, if you're a taxpayer in town, whether you're a Leicester Water District consumer or not, you're paying taxes on that infrastructure improvement, all those lines up on Route 9, which were intended as to be presented so that we could bring Moose Hill online and bring water to the entire town.
So there's something else going on. There's a bigger picture here. 13 years, and the people that signed that contract, all right, you had Bob Wilson, Mr. Lennington, Doug Belanger was selectman back then 13 years ago. They're on that contract. It's public information. You can pull up there. The late Lenny Gabrilla was the other commissioner that signed that. So 13 years, they haven't done nothing. Nothing on this contract that they signed. Where's the good faith here?
Well, good faith, I mean, they're blatantly in breach of contract. I'm not a lawyer,
And what
but
you may hear, this Cherry Valley issue is that there's a loan at play, and if we don't approve this now, then we're going to lose this loan, and that's the end of the world.
No, too bad.
But I think we heard the end of the world arguments before with these penalties that were going to be incurred. When it push came to shove, the DEP they have no real intent. They have no real intent.
They have no idea.
They
don't even know where to begin.
Not even. They have no intent of fining to people in town for no good reason. They're not here to fine people.
Right.
They want to find a solution. And Senator Moore, who was good enough to call all the players together in the meeting in Leicester Water District, felt a little bit cornered on that based on what they've represented. That's my understanding. Senator Moore did a good job of getting all the players in the room. He had the DEP in the room, Cherry Valley, Rochdale. Hillcrest wasn't represented, but the superintendent splits time for Leicester and Hillcrest. There was a lot of good information that came out there. And even though one particular group was very obstructionist, that's the problem that I have, I think, is we signed this contract and, Clause 18 is supposed to be, an annual meeting that apparently has never happened. And for whatever reason, no one's talking about this. And when this first came up, when I came on the board a few months ago, God knows that I'm, the umpteenth person to bring this up on the Board of Selectmen, and anyone will tell you that that's the case. When you bring this up on the board, there's an issue where people are saying that there's nothing we can do about this, just drop it, there's nothing we can do about this. But now, if they sign a contract that says that there's a handle
something
there,
they should do.
that seems that there's two different ways of talking, and then when the light comes out, now all of a sudden, I'm a scapegoat, which is odd, because I've been trying to push this issue forward. And there seemed to be a logjam that was going on, which, may or may not, but, it's my understanding that there was some resistance there, and it looks like the door's open to trying to move forward, but that seems almost in opposite, like you said, Mark, to the contract, where it says that we're going to do this a long time ago, and now all of a sudden there's friction and resistance, and, I'm not sure exactly what the issue is.
Because the town people, we're getting educated here on the facts of what's going on here, and through social media, And yes, that's this the day we live in here, social media. This is where people are tuning in. And there's a lot of people tuning in. There's a lot of people on the People of Leicester tuning in. They might not be commenting or liking it, but they're tuning in. They're paying attention to what's going on.
The tides
here.
have certainly turned in this town. It's a different town than it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
Well, I think if we were to take a step back and just explain or paint a picture for the people that maybe are just first getting informed about this. For those in the Cherry Valley Water or Cherry Valley Rockshore Water District, essentially the district is looking to create a permanent connection to Worcester. The result of that, end result of that, is going to be a conservative 130% increase in your rates. 130%. So take your current water bill, double it, and then add a little bit more for good measure.
For what they're claiming to be a permanent connection. However, but it's also temporary if we want to spend more money down the line on water that we've already spent. So what's my problem is that this is being packaged as, we're being excessive, or we're talking in a way that's not reasonable. But all the money that's been spent, and people are paying money for this, and this was a foreseeable thing, everyone wants to put their eyes and their blinders on and say that, oh, well, this event happened and this is the only event, when that is just absolutely the furthest thing from the truth.
And then, and people that don't own homes or property in Leicester, if you're renting, don't think this ain't gonna affect you either, because when your rent goes up because your landlord's gotta pay this higher water and sewer bill, and your rent explodes, don't say, geez, I should have attended those meetings here and got involved here. And then to kick it, they're gonna raise up our taxes. So now our taxes are going up, our water is probably the highest. I mean, this was on Fox 25, they did a big investigation. They should come here and investigate these 3 water districts and see what's going on here. Well, so we're gonna, go ahead, Mark, I'm sorry.
Without getting too far off base, as a district and as a town, I would think steps moving forward, this is just my opinion, obviously you guys can comment on top of it. We need to figure out groundwork as far as an independent audit, because the Cherry Valley Rockshore Water District books obviously have overheated on them. I would say
maybe they've had an audit, maybe it was yesterday, but I haven't, I'm not aware of one. But audits are always good, and on all levels. And I think we had one in town here a few years ago that ended up uncovering some very interesting stuff that was kind of kept it down low. But
I mean, I love living in a small town, but I don't like small town politics.
Yeah.
They're just as bad as large town, large city.
Well, it just seems to me that if multiple water districts and multiple districts were the way to go, Boston would have 7,942 water districts. It's duplicative. And
we got 11,000 people, so we clearly
people
need
saying that they're not going to do this, they're not going to do that.
We got good people living in Leicester. I mean, it's, you got some bullies in town here. They've been bullying people since I moved in here 20-something years ago here. We're just trying to find out here. This is a big bump in if you live on a fixed income here, to get hit with the water, the high water, and then our taxes gonna go up, and then you have health concerns. People don't want to talk about it, but how many women got pregnant here in Leicester over the last 13 years? All right, and now they're saying that with the water here, failing all these water tests, that it could hurt the baby, that's alarming. That's alarming, just to sit back and do nothing here and not say nothing. We're looking for answers, and I haven't seen Mr. Knox come forward. We've been on social media. If there was misinformation on social media, I know they're on social media. Why don't they just plug in and say, they have no problem having my water bill up at the town meeting
Bill,
up here.
if I recall correctly, some time ago when you first started coming on board with this issue, that you were getting some people were driving by your house.
Yeah, a little drive-by.
Trying to give you a little intimidation.
Yeah, I feel like I live in Worcester here.
Now, isn't it interesting that, I caught a lot of flack for holding that meeting at Eller's, which was pretty well attended. People had a lot of questions because the information wasn't out there.
Yeah.
And now in America, to my recollection, you're able to have meetings and discuss information in a reasonable way. And if other people can have their problems with it, but I just don't understand America. For those at home who didn't pay attention in history class, when you start talking about what started this country and how they were able to start the American
I
Revolution.
think it has
was
something to do with the right to free assembly.
It was meetings
Yeah.
in taverns
You know, and
that got it done. And so to deride me for exercising my First Amendment rights is odd. Why can't we bring some, why does it seem that there's a lot of stamping going around when you say the word consolidation? I'm going to get 3 phone calls tonight for saying the word consolidation. I'll say it again. We should have a town DEP if it's a feasible thing. But again, there's all these players, there's legislation that's been enacted to make it difficult for the town to consolidate these issues, where again, I've been attacked personally at the Leicester Select Board meeting about using the word consolidation, where it's clearly contemplated here in the 80s and thereafter. So, I'm not sure what the issue is there, but when you look at that big old Hillcrest tower up at Memorial School, and it's bleeding rust all over the place, and it's my understanding that they maybe got a year or 2 left on that thing. They need that for water pressure, it's my understanding. So if you're hearing everything's all right, just take a look up at that tower and let it be a beacon to everybody
There was
to show you what's not all right.
Yeah, there's a post here on the people of Leicester, and it says water issue. Where are the owners of Ella's, Hanks Marine, Fire Department, Jan's Beer Mart, Renison Hair Salon, Jagira's Discovery Daycare, Twisted Fork, on and on? Early deaths attributed to or from our water, question mark.
I'm not sure about that. It sounds a little inflammatory. However,
I don't
people are
want
concerned.
to
People are
defend
concerned.
some people that I know I did see Jeff from Jan's at the meetings. I know I saw Jeff Eller. He hosted the meeting. He was
Correct.
in there involved in the meeting. So I don't want to belittle, the businesses within town. I just don't think the awareness is there to where they've taken notice.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, come January, we've gotten a little bit of a reprieve. The vote was turned down. Then we had the 40-day billing cycle. They gave us a break on part of it. Now, this next bill, we get another break. January is when they kick into high gear. So in January is when everybody is going to pay attention to this, and they're going to start getting those first bills. And then they're going to go, oh, this is a little too much.
I know.
Unfortunately,
And again, you guys are talking
if
about
Mike Knox gets
we
his
spent all
way,
this money on this other issue, and now they want to spend money going this way, and that's a permanent connection. And again, it was kind of talked about as a temporary permanent connection, but it's, you could, if you wanted to spend more money to get another water source, maybe that happens in 2035, but how expensive is it going to be then? Why not kick this 6 months down the line, and again, they'll tell you that you're going to cost more money by these penalties that apparently didn't exist,
There's no
and this
penalties.
loan that will never be, there's no other options in the history of mankind besides this one loan. I understand you spent a lot of time on that, but again, it's very interesting how there's a town-wide issue, no one wants to address it, and people are catching flack for trying to address it.
well, I think the one thing, this is my perspective on the whole thing. Number one, I do think we need some form of an audit on the water district and their books.
Just that one, or all of them? There's 3.
I would be on board with all of them. Without a doubt, I would not mind auditing all 3.
And Moose Hill was actually contemplated, it's mentioned as the 4th water district sometimes. It's actually, under this 1987 study, it's contemplated as becoming the main Moose Hill Water Commission.
And, along with that being said, and I had said this at one of the meetings, regardless of the cost, they had tossed around the $9 million number, and whatever the case may be. I'm on board with making Leicester self-sufficient. Like I said at the beginning of the meeting when you had asked, I want nothing to do with being in bed with Worcester. That's...
Well, you want to minimize that dependence.
Right. We don't have a voice with anyone in Worcester. When they want to change
1%
things,
or less.
Well, I think Holden's getting water. Isn't Holden getting water from Worcester as well?
That's my understanding in Paxton.
And Paxton as well?
I want to throw Shrewsbury out there too. But
I believe they do, but they're in the same boat as us, where it's MWRA giving it to Worcester, who's in turn giving it to us.
Which, doesn't that seem weird? Wouldn't it seem that our leaders and elected officials want to create water security rather than water insecurity? And this short-sighted, I keep calling it a jam on to Worcester. And it seems like that's what it is. There's this whole body of studies and money and man hours that have been expended, and selectmen that I've spoken with from other decades that are like, we'd like to see this go forward, but for one reason, it always gets stuffed.
And I can't take another meeting with Mr. Knox doing that shuffle up on stage for 3 hours of just not really answering questions.
Well, don't tell
here.
him that, Bill. He's probably watching. He's going to use that against you and make it a 6-hour meeting.
Yeah, no, well, you know, and I think that they were,
I'm already going to have to take the night off from work.
well, you know, I think they were doing that, hoping that.
Get your Dunkin' Donuts gift cards ready.
No, but I think you know, I think that's what was going on here. They just, you know, did that, hoping that people would leave the town hall and then they would have.
And there's no discussion about it. And I'm called back up to the microphone at that particular meeting and told that Moose Hill is 30 years, decades and decades away.
DEP told us that's BS, that it would
Straight
take
from
no
there,
more than 5 years.
5 years.
I'd rather make the
Nuts.
investment in that, because if we did it 13 years ago,
They want to talk about $2 million
We'll be back.
as the cheapest option. That's not true, because this money's already been spent. And if you allow this to just go through and Moose Hill dies, that those, you know, per the contract, those improvements go to the Leicester Water District, and they just stay that way. And Moose Hill's never developed, and they gain the benefit of that.
Right, and we paid for that.
Whether that's an unjust enrichment is, you know, it depends on
I
maybe
think
who
so.
you ask.
I think so.
Look at the investment we've already put into Moose Hill.
That's what,
You've been up there.
That's
I
my
mean,
point. That's my point.
That's a big body of water just.
What people need to understand at
Sitting
home
there.
is that we have a reservoir in town, and we've spent money making sure that this could happen, and it's gone forward. And, you know, Mr. Leamington brought up a good point, that it comes forward and it dies. It comes forward and it dies. But if you look at,
Well, who's pushing back on it?
I understand, and I think that's the key question here.
You got
And why
Moose
is-
Hill, you got Cherry Valley Rothschild, and then you got the Leicester Water Supply in the middle.
And
There's-
why is Cherry Valley in this situation when this is clearly contemplated 10, 15, and 20 plus years ago that there would be a water shortage? So,
And then, you know, and then your group, the selectmen, from years ago, listening to them, they want to bring business into town, bring business into town.
You need to
All
get
right?
water.
You need water. You got businesses shut down. They can't even operate in here. You can't even get a McDonald's in here because you don't have the water to support it.
Leicester Water District says that they've run tests and that there is no problem with the water pressure up there. So I mean, that's, you know, that's what they say.
That's why Walmart has
Yeah.
put in their own pumping station up
That's
here.
I'm pretty sure
water pressure.
Walmart has their own pumping
Yeah.
station, right?
I understand.
This
So, I mean,
is you want to talk about
There's no
misinformation?
problem up there.
Yeah, there's no problem up there.
Well, smoke and mirrors has been the way
Yeah.
of politics in some time, and I think transparency is a lot better serving to the town. And I think people like yourselves, you know, myself even too, general newcomers to the political scene here, looking at some of these old contracts where you got, you know, the facade is, oh, we can't do anything, and Moose Hill's a dead issue. But then you come back and you look, and there's 30 years of work that's
Well, no,
gone
I'd
into
like
this.
to look at it and just go, yeah, okay, Selectman Belanger, you can't do anything, but the rest of us can.
Maybe that's the case.
You know, can anybody go up to the town hall and get a copy of this contract? I know we
Absolutely.
posted
It's
it
public
up-
information.
I know we posted it on the people that left, but not everybody's probably on social media.
Correct.
Should mail that out to everybody. I mean, they want to mail all the stuff in their,
The town administrators reported that people they have come up there and requested that. So they
wonderful.
should-
Well, keep coming up and get that report from the town. And you got to read this for yourself. We're not making this up. You couldn't make this stuff up. It's right here. It's on black and white. They signed the contract. You'll see their signatures. 13 years they sat on this. 13 years, they did nothing. And they talked
There
about...
was a 2008 study that went forward, and it
Another
said
one.
that there are no fatal flaws, 48 to 84 months, and the longest, DEP recently quoting 5 years. So again, if each individual district, again, look at that tower, how much does it cost to replace that tower? It's not free, and they need that in that system.
Right.
So in order to replace that, you get $2 million down here.
Well, maybe that's where all our money's been going. They're saving it up to replace
These are
that.
specific districts. I'm not sure, but Leicester Water District has their own improvements that they're going forward with. So, but everyone's got this real short view of like, no, I'm not doing anything. We're keeping our little political fiefdom and our jobs. I look at the town, and the town has some issues, and the town needs to address those issues. And these guys have already kind of signed up to do that. So now they're going the other way, and that's where the rhetoric becomes an issue. Anything that's pretty much against Moose Hill going forward, if you've signed a contract that says we will do this, you're looking at potential breach of contract issue there. I'm not
Does
saying
the town get reimbursed for the money we spent on all that, the pipe that we laid down
well,
there?
that becomes the unjust enrichment
Absolutely.
issue. And it's just sad to see the people that have dedicated their hearts and souls to this town for so long. 2/3 of the town's having a water problem, and the other one, we're getting an easier chance, getting some help from the city of Worcester than we are from our own neighbors across the street.
I guess
Yeah, the city of Worcester's looking for a handout. That's
Well, they did say in that first newspaper article that it would help defray their costs,
Yes.
but the next day they made an article that said that it would have no impact. So which one is it?
Well,
Well,
when they hooked up to MWRA, I'm sure their bills were going to go up, and whoever the powers that be
Yeah.
kind of said, hey, you know what? I got a revenue stream. Hold on, let
Yeah.
me call.
Well, I wonder if that ties into the regionalization. I mean, people, again, and this is the point that I brought up, is that people are tired of paying twice for things here. And so if you look at this, and then the Rochdale thing with the Cherry Valley with the water, they're paying twice there, and then you want to come back and pay a third time if they want to complete Moose Hill. So they paid here, they're paying currently on these other infrastructure projects. You want them to pay again for a, quote, temporary, which is permanent. So the smoke and mirrors, I think, I think if they were upfront with people and say, listen, let's wait 6 months, the town's doing a cost study survey, let's all do this together, let's be reasonable. But it's everyone's got their blinders on and pushing forward. And they may say the same thing to me. Mike Shivick's talking about Moose Hill. It's 30 years down the road, but it turned out that was absolutely not true, and it was just an ego trip.
Mike, we spend, it's so easy to spend money in Leicester. I've never seen it. We built a state-of-the-art police department. We had our own cell room, so we didn't have to transport, we didn't have to transport inmates over to like Spencer or Worcester or whatever, okay? Then we have the 911 system, state-of-the-art stuff here. Now, they sign a client, we shut that down, that building down over there, basically. Shut that building down, and we ship that over to Worcester to do the 911.
And we pay.
Now we're paying for that. Now we're building a new fire station, right? Now, we can't afford that fire station because the taxes are going up. Now we're getting hit with the water. Now our taxes are going up. How much more money can they just suck out of the citizens of Leicester? No, really, think about it. I mean, police station, fire department, the water districts, come on, no businesses? People are getting sick here with the water, 13 years, signed contract, come on. We need to, we got to hire lawyers to look at this. No, really, I'm fired up. This is sickening. You can't just flip up that thing there when you go there and vote because you're going to drown in debt. And when you start losing your houses and people start moving out of Leicester here, don't sit back and say, geez, how did that happen?
It's already an issue. I think, Bill, you're aware that there's already been a foreclosure issue in town. And if we want to start attracting the types of individuals and families that are going to stay in those houses instead of the quick in and out or not renting it, not getting in there at all, then we got to show them that we're not a silly town anymore, and we're going to make wise choices.
We got to take care of business first before we can even think about attracting any business.
I know. I got two hard-leaning conservatives here, and a left-leaning moderate, here, and we're all on the same issue because it's a town issue. This is a town issue. The water's a town issue.
This isn't personal. This is not personal.
It becomes personal because why are people getting so
politics
upset?
aside, this has to be resolved as a town, and kicking the can down the street further and further and further. Like I said, when this goes through, my water bill is going to be pushing close to $300 every month. $300 every month.
It's a car payment.
So you're going to put me at $3,600 a year?
My buddy just told me, he lives down the South Shore.
And it's a temporary solution. You're not even done. You're not even done.
Bill knows me. He's seen my lawn. It's not like I got a sprinkler system and I got a putting green out there.
Because then other people have to maybe be held accountable, and no one likes that. And one who should be held accountable in this town is our town administrator, Kevin Mizikar. What a great guy. He should be held accountable for what a great job he's doing.
He's
navigating this town out of some of the most treacherous waters you could imagine. Whoever worked with the last town administrator, you'd know the difference. And Kevin Mizikar, he should get an A+. What a great guy. What a great find he was in the last board that brought him on.
He's willing to work with us. We're asking our selectmen, get involved. We watch those meetings there. They're afraid to vote, take a vote. They should have stepped up and says, listen, Mr. Chairman, that's wrong, removing him. I don't have the time to do that. I don't have the time to do that. And for him to just say, I'll fill in the void. There's no void. That's like a planned, that was like the biggest red flag that went up there watching that. I just can't, they're all in cahoots with one another.
Well, you can't go that far, but it seems that there's, smoke and mirrors afoot.
God almighty. Work with us. We work together get the police station. We work together to get the fire station. Work with us to resolve this water problem. We got the water. Let's put a pumping station here. All right, so we're going to lose some people on your boards there. You might only have a water commissioner, but you can serve on the board of directors or whatever the case might be here. Let's get this done.
That's a good idea.
Hey, look at it this way, Bill. How many times do you ever think you look at your government and they don't want to spend money you're offering up?
Hey, libertarian.
This is a first.
That's a libertarian, I think.
This is a first.
I would say that it's too bad how things have developed, and maybe there is a reasonable explanation why after 2008 things died. But I was told, one person who's got a convenient argument of, oh, we found that it was too expensive, but there's no cost analysis that's been done. So
how do you
the
support it?
misinformation is really, where's it coming from? Again, I think
Misinformation is just non-information as far as if there's been no basis set, if there's been no understanding, whether it was 8 years ago, 10, 13 years ago, if you have nothing to work the math from today, it makes no difference. It doesn't. So this is not a problem that's just started within the past year.
No, but I think people are kind of catching on to the riffraff, if you want to call it that, or the
I would
smoke
say
mirrors, or the things that don't seem to add up.
Awareness has come up to or is starting to come up to the level of the problem.
And you talk to people too out there that they're glad that you come out and talk about this. They're like, thank you for doing this.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Because I can't do this.
Right.
Because they get bullied.
Yep.
And I don't think there's 3 guys here that are probably not going to sign up for that.
But I've been into the stores in town, the post office, and people saying, hey, thank you for speaking up. Yeah, we didn't know. And, thanks for the people of Leicester, that Facebook page there. People are starting to express their opinions. And there's a lot of people keying into that, but they're not putting their names on. I was bullied with a phone call by one of those water commissioners there, calling up, screaming at me. Hey, I'm not yelling at you. Don't yell at me. And then, he calmed down.
Yelled at too.
This is nonsense. It's nonsense. Learn to communicate with one another. Learn to communicate. If you can't do the job, get out there. Let somebody else do it. You've been in there too long, some of these positions. It's the same. Term limits is right.
If you go look at their little bylaws, the Leicester Water District's bylaws is a little bit more restrictive than the other group's bylaws about how you can get in there. I believe you actually have to be a homeowner in the district, not just a renter. It's very specific. They can carry you out by a constable. There's very specific rules about what happens in Leicester that don't apply to Hillcrest, which is similar.
Yep.
They have their own commissioners. There's about 400 people in that district. And in September, I sat through a meeting where it seemed that they were ready to go forward with everything that we're kind of talking about. Like, hey, they're having problems. They're a small district. Let's absorb this into one thing and move forward with a real solution instead of just patchwork and kicking the can down the line. And they were on board, but now I'm being told that, we just have to do whatever the Leicester Water District says.
Well, there's definitely a need for a better course of providing information to everyone within the town and within the district. I'm guilty of it. I'm sure a lot of people are guilty of it. Within our district, you get your water bill. They send that letter. You might make it through the first paragraph, 2
Most of us.
paragraphs.
I like to read that.
And then okay.
Okay, attorney.
Hey.
But, thank God I just happened to read through it one day. I was bored. I read through the water. And I couldn't believe what I was reading here. That's why I got involved. It's my fault too. I just sat back. I'm like probably a lot of citizens get that water bill, and they just throw the inserts away,
call it a day.
and call it a day and move on. And that's how things got passed. That's how this is how they're getting all this money.
We got the DEP comes in and they say, okay, you got to go to Worcester Water. There's a line that was built in, I believe, 1980 that runs to Worcester. That this is where we're getting water from right now. So the water quality problem is off. So the DEP forced us off. So they're going to force us. They've let this go for how long with water quality problems?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, they have to do it right now.
Yeah, now it has to be perfect.
But that's not the DEP's position. They're saying we're willing to work with you. At the meeting, they said they would be willing, if the different districts wanted to work together, they would expand the scope of the ACO to just be to involve that. They came up with separate issues about they could do a separate treatment plant to deal with all the districts right here, in Leicester. So there were other issues that they could do, but it seems that in true Voldemort type fashion, that these guys are just trying to jam this forward.
Well, that's what they're trying to do. Has there been any word from Matt Beaton or the lieutenant governor?
I haven't heard anything from the executive branch.
How about another meeting from our senator and our state rep and get these parties together?
Well, here's something interesting is that I regret not having read every word of that contract prior, but the last clause of that 2003 intermunicipal agreement calls for the town of Leicester and the Leicester Water District and the Moose Hill Commission to have an annual basis where they meet, share information, and work towards Moose Hill. And how can we get this going forward? So there's a contractual obligation, it appears, to have an annual meeting to facilitate Moose Hill going forward. But up until you bring up that fact, we don't know what you're talking about. We're not participating.
Yeah.
We're leaving this meeting. There was threats in that Senator Moore's meeting that they were just going to leave the meeting, which, again, things have kind of calmed down a little bit, and they've seen maybe there's a change in tenor over there at Leicester
When I was
Water
in the
District.
Marines, we get boxing gloves on hand.
Yep.
What's this? What's this?
I'd say we get golf.
Yeah.
I don't
That's the
advocate
way
any of
it
this.
is.
These guys, it's the conservative branch.
It's the military
But
side
in
of it.
closing, any parting shots here, Mr. Connelly, before we close this off? I'm sure we could sit here all night.
Yeah, I could. No, I would say we need to look closely at an independent audit of at least Cherry Valley, Rochdale, their books, if not all 3 districts. And I'm on board. Let's spend the money. Let's get Moose Hill online, and let's keep Leicester. I don't want to be tied to Worcester just for the sake of the fact that somebody's overcooked their books for the past, 2 decades. Just my
Or
opinion.
maybe they ran up against a wall and they tried to
Well, it's a house of cards, and like
any.
any other house of cards, it will fall eventually.
It's the same names around town for a long time. That's for
It
sure.
is very much.
I just got an email, a text here on the people of Leicester here. We're not here bashing anyone. It's not our intent to do that. Anybody's welcome to come on, and we'd like to do another show next week here, and we would ask other people to come in and be part of this discussion here. It's just we're just frustrated citizens here, and just seeing that my taxes are going to go up, and now we're dealing with this water quality and this high bill here, and we can come together as a town here. We're not looking to bash you, but we're not getting any feedback from these water districts here. It appears they don't want to work with us. They're probably working behind the scenes here to try to shut down this vote here. But in signing off here for today here, I really want to wish everybody in town a very happy Thanksgiving, that you can spend time with your families and stuff, and just remember our men and women that are serving all over the world here that can't be home with their loved ones. So that's what I'll sign off with. Thank you.
And again, this has been the Citizens Corner. I am Michael Shivick, tonight joined by Mark Connelly and Mr. Bill Moore. There is a wonderful Battle of Breezy Bend, 47th edition at Leicester this year. Make sure you get your tickets early. They're $5. If you get them day of the game, they're $8, but should be a good event, home game this year, and hopefully we stick it to Prouty hard.
Yeah. Will we be doing this next week, Michael?
I'd like to come back on again in advance of that and do another Citizens Corner and
And we'll
discuss what's been going on.
post that on the People of Leicester's Facebook page, and
Sure.
if anybody wants to come in and be part of this on the other side of the coin here, there's always 2 sides of a coin here, and we can agree to disagree, but still be friends and still get along in town and still support our town here.
And again, you get into situations where you start asking certain questions and people start getting upset. So the fact of the matter is, how much money do you guys want to spend on the same problem?
Yep.
And keep coming back to the same resolution. So let's get a thumbs up and thumbs down on this.
Yep.
Let's not spend and spend. Let's not spend 3 times. If we look at the way that maybe we talked about the fire station a little bit, which maybe should have been a complex with the police station, but maybe the voters weren't feeling that at that time. But when you wait down the
was definitely
line,
needed,
things
so.
cost more money. And so to spend this here and to come back and ask people to spend again, I think it's pretty foreseeable that that's not going to happen.
And I just want to thank Art Paquette for coming up here, and Lucky Macadona for coming up here to run the controls out there, and for putting on this show.
And Lucky was nice enough to stay behind there. He didn't come in here and try to throw at me or anything like that. He withstood the storm. So thanks to
All right.
Lucky, and
Thank you, guys.
thanks to
Thank you.
everybody that's working on this behind the scenes. There are a number of you that have approached me, and if any of these guys, if there's anyone if we can help you out at all in terms of information on the upcoming Water District meeting or anything else that's going on, please feel free to reach out.
And please, you can take my seat anytime here for another opinion here. I'm happy to give up my chair here and come in here. It's but welcome. Thank you for tuning in.
In any case, Mike Shivick signing off. You have a Cherry Valley Rochdale Water District special meeting, 12/6, 7 p.m. at the Town Hall. Make sure people are out to that. There should be a lot of people at that meeting based on what we're talking about here. Make sure if you're in that district, make sure you're at that meeting. Leicester Water District's meeting on December 8th, a couple short days after that. And, there should be some very interesting meetings coming up, but, active participation in town government is what drives town government, and it's just decided by the people that show up. So if the people show up, say one thing, then that's what's going to be the answer for everybody. So if
Right.
100 people vote for 11,000 people, then that's what it is. Water security, water cleanliness, money being spent in
Health.
millions of dollars. It seems like something people should be able to put down their iPhones for and, come out and sit for a few hours and make sure we get an informed consensus one way or the other.
Think locally, act locally, right?
That's right. Mark, I want to thank you for taking the time for sitting here. And Bill, thanks as always for everything that you do on behalf of the veterans in the town. This guy deserves a Patriot Award. It doesn't even, you don't
I
even know.
think he's already got a couple.
Yeah, I think he's got a
Let's not
couple.
blow his ego up anymore.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, guys, stay warm out there. It's a very blustery night. And, this is Mike Shivick, Citizens Corner, signing off.
Semper Fi.